Magic.
All right, today, one to buy, one to sell, one to spec on. And again, you're doing it to me again, Thal. You're one to buy. I'm always like, huh. So everybody, break out your pocketbooks. But Thal, talk to me today about what you were thinking when you were coming up with what you think everyone should be looking closely at to buy.
Well, my one to buy today is probably my most expensive one to buy today, and that would be a collector's edition or international collector's edition MOX Pearl in light play or near mint condition.
Yeah. So $457 collector's edition, international. Well, that's euros too. So what are they saying? That's maybe about, oh, these are both euros. So it's another $150 more than the other one. Okay, but why? This is already an expensive card. Why do you want to tell people to go buy this?
It's nowhere near as expensive as it was in the 2021 bull market. And I believe everything, like we have all the markers in place for the fact that Magic's is turning bullish again. I think the all-time high, I don't know if you can find the all-time high on this website, but it was probably around, I personally...
I can find it on this one. So...
I personally sold a BGS 8.5 MOX Pearl for, I believe it was $1,800.
Well, it says here the all-time high, well, or average at one time, of course, the 2021 spike, 2,500.
Yeah, and I mean, look at that multiplier. That's far exceed. That's like a 6x multiplier.
You could almost get an unlimited MOX Pro right now, maybe moderate play, for $2,500.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. But you've got this card. The reason these cards were like the bastard childs of Magic the Gathering for such a long time. Back in the boomer days, these cards had absolutely no, basically no value. But then years later came along the advent of a format called Old School. Old School was a fan-created format, and because there are so few copies of beta, alpha, and unlimited MOXes that were available for play, they said, okay, we want our format to flourish, so why don't we allow the addition of Collector's Edition and International Collector's Edition Power 9 to be played in our format.
Who's the they, by the way?
They, basically anyone who can sanction these tournaments. There are sanctioned tournaments not sanctioned by DCI, but they're fan-created tournaments that allow for these cards to be played. In deck protectors, they are unrecognizable as far as the square corners.
Wait, time out. Do they actually make you use the actual card in your deck to shuffle with?
Oh yeah.
So this is the millionaires tournament.
Yeah, this is big money tournaments.
But oh my god.
If you want your format
start shuffling.
What's that? Think about all the Power 9 that were ever created, right?
Yeah.
Alpha was about 1,030 copies per rare. I think Unlimited was about 15,000 copies, 15 to 17,000 copies per rare. I think Beta was around 3,000 to 5,000 copies per rare. So you're limiting yourself as far as the number of people that can play. Now, all of a sudden, there's Collector's Edition that were printed. They're printed off beta plates, although they have square corners. They were printed in 1993 as a complete set. And then there's International Collector's Edition, which has about 5,000 copies of each card, also printed off of beta plates. If you allow these copies to be played, that's another 15,000 copies that exist in the marketplace. So you are basically allowing your favorite format to flourish. Old school is huge. I'm extremely bullish on every single piece of Power in Collector's Edition and International.
It almost makes me wonder that if one of the things driving us people playing with it, and you're required to actually use the cards, you can't have it set off to the side. If they're graded, then if someone's going to buy that card, they're paying a premium on it just to crack open the case. So I wonder if almost sometimes like a heavily played for getting it cheaper might not also be a good buy for some people, especially if you're looking to play in these tournaments. Who cares, right? You get a whole bunch of heavily played. They're already effed up. So you might as well, there's no point in getting something that's minty fresh if you're just going to start shuffling it, don't you think?
In some of these formats, you're not even allowed to use revised cards. You're only allowed to use unlimited or before. And in some formats, you're allowed to use revised and before. 4th edition, not allowed. Reprints of like for example, Mishra's Factory,
Star Angel. Yeah,
not allowed. That's not universal. There's multiple factions of old school formats, 93, 94.
Okay, one to sell. And I have a feeling I know one of the reasons why you're selecting this one as one to sell, but go ahead. What's the one to start getting rid of? You got this one. Thal thinks it's as high as it's going to go. Talk to me.
Ancient Copper Dragon.
$60-ish card, maybe a little more. I mean, it's 65 bucks. This is from Baldur's Gate. Why should everyone get rid of this one?
Oh man, where should I start? First of all, this card isn't very good in any format. It's okay. It's overcosted for Commander. It doesn't really do much for Commander. If you're talking about competitive Commander, turning cards sideways to attack with them, doesn't really do a whole lot. It's a mythic available out of Battle for Baldur's Gate. Those boxes, the set boxes, I've seen for as low as $75, $80 a box. So, I mean, if you would like to, you could buy multiple boxes of those, and you would have, at this price, arbitrage opportunities for those cards. Another reason is that there's 4 or 5 versions of this card. There is a showcase version, and then there's this version, and then there's a foil version of either of those versions. And I'm not quite aware yet, but I believe, there's the extended art version and the foil version of the extended art version as well. So
yep.
I apologize, 6 versions of this card that was printed in one set.
This actually says view all prints. There might even be more, but I think point taken. And look at its price, though. Hanging strong, around 65 bucks.
It's a reprint waiting to happen. It's a reprint over and over waiting to happen. And if it isn't a direct reprint into a set as a result of okay, this is a Dungeons and Dragons themed card, so we're not going to reprint it directly into a set. What they will do is they'll print it over and over and over again into the mystery booster slot that's in the set booster, play booster packs, whatever they want to call it these days.
Looking at this, 6 mana, 6/5 flying. When Ancient Copper Dragon deals combat damage to a player, roll the 20-sided die. Create a number of treasure tokens based off of the result. Okay, you end up with 20 treasure tokens. Sure. But, I mean, you got to get 6 mana. You got to get this thing on the board. You got to actually get it to attack. And with things like murder and the various, destroy the 2 mana stuff, right? Destroy legendary creature, destroy non-legendary creature, destroy monocolored creature, whatever. You're basically talking 2 mana. Everyone's got them. And you're going to run around with 6 mana and think someone's just going to sit still and let you go ahead and run that motherfucker over to your side of the board and nothing's going to happen. To your point, it's not that great of a card. Why do you think it's $65? Like, what's keeping this price up?
I think that in the Baldur's Gate sets, like there was a dragon printed in each color, and they were actually printed at a uh lower rate than Mythic's prior. And it's one of the better, it's probably the best of the five.
So,
So
I'm a fan of Baldur's Gate. I've played the games. I've mentioned this before on the show. I'm a little mad at Baldur's Gate 3, but certainly 1 and 2. And I picked this up because I wanted to drum up a Minsk, the whatever Ranger, and some of the other characters. So are you telling me now it's, of course, a sealed booster box, right? That I would probably be better off as a draft booster box. Would I be better off just opening this up then, if it's $70 now for a box, and see if I can, nab one of those dragons and whatever? I might actually make more money off this box.
if I were you and I held any copies of those boxes sealed, I would not crack them.
But if you're saying there could be arbitrage and, you've got $70 for a booster box, I mean, there's more booster boxes to buy, or can I not find them anymore at that price? So here's Card Kingdom again. They're trying to get $75 for their ancient copper dragon. Silver dragon is 30, yeah. Right? There's your brass dragon, 25, and then whatever black market connections is. So, going through here, starting again real quick, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Call it 9, 10, 11. Let's go to 15, 12, 13, 14. 14 cards that are at $15. And then you're still got some $13 and $14 cards. So when I kind of look at this, it's kind of an expensive set. We've got, if I go 100 per page, their buy list, ooh, that's a long list. Go all the way down. So that's 8.
You know why it's a long list?
796. They're going to pay off of these. All right, let's see what TCG Player has to say of what they're actually selling. So this is it. They're calling it at 55. We're going to go ahead and start looking at what's been sold. View more data. They're showing them kind of like going up. All right, so it's like what's look, we all know treasure tokens, fine. So near mint, $60.
One to speculate on.
1 to speculate on, and I love your pick. Go ahead. So I want to know, what are we all going to speculate on, and why you think we should bother?
Okay, there's a card that I'd like to talk about, and I'm going to name the card, and I'd like you to say what the card does. Political Trickery.
Sure, Political Trickery from Mirage. It's a great card. It's only 3 mana, 1 blue, 2 colorless. Choose target land you control, and target land an opponent controls, and exchange control of those lands. Especially in Commander and things like that, right? We've seen every single land everywhere. So I think its use case is kind of obvious. And notice here on Scryfall anyway, showing it about $3.60. It just literally went up a penny right before our very eyes. Why do you want to speculate on this one?
The reason I like this card is because one, it's a very unique effect for blue. Blue has very little ability to manipulate lands. 2, it's a cool ability in Commander. If I could trade a snow-covered island for your Gaia's Cradle, or for your, from the new Fallout set, like your Diamond City, or something like that, that's awesome. That's something that you want to do. There's even stuff like City of Traders. I can trade a card that produces 1 mana for a City of Traders. Or a Crystal Vein, or something like that, or something along those lines, as long as it's tapped. But Political Trickery gets better and better with age. And the reason it gets better with age is because there are more and more lands that are printed that it is good to target. For example, there's bounce lands. There's bounce lands that when your opponent plays the land, they return a land to their hand, and they can tap that land to produce 2 mana of 2 different colors, right? So once they do that, if I political trickery and I gain control of that land, they're behind the land, they bounce in their hand, and they're gaining a land that, that I'm going to give them that's going to produce 1 mana, and I'm going to gain a land that produces 2 mana.
Not only card advantage, it's also you get the speed out of getting that from them, and they wasted their time doing it. That's another sort of kind of economy of this. Looking at our price, all-time high, when it was, is don't
forget the new surveil lands from Murders of Karloff Manor. You've got these lands that come into play tapped. They come into play tapped before your opponent can take advantage of the fact that they surveil. I can exchange control of your surveil land with my snow-covered island.
So, and I believe you. I bought 6 near mint copies of this. I already had some from Mirage anyway, but I bought 6 more for $3.50 a piece. All-time high, $19 that I can find here. Maybe even a little higher or whatever. And now they're showing it down here, right? $3.90, $3.59, right about where I bought it for. I mean, this thing is really like redlined, right? Just flat line down to nothing. And once again, MTG stocks, thank you. And so I think it does seem to be at a price where you can, right? You go buy 20 of these things. You're out 60, $75. And then if it goes up 6-7 times its amount, right? Go make $1,000.
And I think the risk is so minimal because, like, if you're buying these for like $2 to $4 a piece, like you hold on to them for a few months. Worst case scenario is you can just buy list them and get your money back.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. 1 to buy, 1 to sell. So get your MOX Pearls. Get rid of your ancient copper dragons. Why don't you pick up a big pile of political trickeries, and we'll see what happens. Didgeridoos we talked about before, leeches. These are not things that are going to go up in price in 2 weeks, but they're things that are cheap. Who cares? Throw $40 at it. Pick something up. Maybe down the road, a card comes out, changes everything. Final words, Thales? Any final thoughts?
Not really, man. Just like fucking follow your dreams, brother.
Well said, Thalid. And nice and monotone.
Magic.